Yeah, I think it's 11.
Yes, yes. Lefton, one of the most regular attendees of our sessions. He's there.
Yeah,
And
wonderful,
we've gone live as well. We are live right now. So,
wonderful.
Hare Krishna, dear friends.
Yes,
So,
welcome
I'd like to welcome
everybody.
you all to this session, interesting session of the Bhakti Yoga Way. And we definitely have even sent the reminders to everybody. It's called as the Bridging Worlds. And we really want to know how somebody from the West has embraced the culture of the East. Well, wait a minute. Is this the culture of the East? What is the West? What is the
Oh,
culture of West? So there's so
yeah,
many things we're going to be finding out. Yes, in
yeah,
today's
yeah.
sessions. Before we go ahead, we will definitely we can offer prayers. We start with offering prayers. We'll have short prayers. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namne Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharni Nirvishesh Punyavadi Paschat Deshatare Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. All right, Stacey, I just want to let you know that you're on mute. So, yeah. So, thank you so much for joining us as the host today. I'm very happy to be with you and also the wonderful friends who are with us here. Yeah. So, I wanted to ask you, uh, how was, how did you get introduced to this path of Bhakti Yoga? Yes, how did you get introduced to the path? You can unmute yourself and you can start speaking.
Yeah, and that's good because otherwise I'm just we'll talk over each other all
Yeah, yeah.
night. So that's a good idea. So funny enough, I mean, I pretty much I just became an international yoga teacher. I was teaching in Bali, in Italy, in Guam, in India, in New York. I was teaching the International Yoga Day of New York. There's like 500 people on the streets of New York, and it's a different culture. But then right in New York is really where Prabhupada started. If anyone for some of us, I'm sure all the people on here know Prabhupada right there on one of the trees there in the park. But Matchless Gifts still stands. They're renovating it, um, and the Bhakti Center is very, very close to Matchless Gifts. And so I was just in this kind of role, and you're in New York, and you're going and you're teaching and you're moving and you're going here and flying there and doing this, doing that. And I don't know, there was a moment where I thought, what am I doing? Like I love yoga. I love sharing it, but I felt kind of like an empty hole, flying here and flying there and flying this and flying. And I was like listening to like odd podcasts of I don't even know what or who's Diana, who killed Diana, who really killed Diana, like like the silliest things. And I thought like, is this what yoga is? This my life is going to be? I'm going to wonder who's crazy things. So I went to my friend said, you have to come to the Bhakti Center, right? You have to go to the Bhakti Center. I said, okay, let's go to the Bhakti Center. And there's also, there was another yoga studio downtown also that was into Bhakti. And when I say into Bhakti, I mean, in New York, it's a lot different than it is here. In New York, at least for where I'm from the city, right outside the city, every studio you go into, harmonium. And the harmonium's not on the floor, it's on a blanket. It's covered with kind of one of these. And so in every class you go to, there's kirtan, even if it's Loka Samusta Sukino Bhavantu, right? So maybe just a chant at the end or the beginning, but there's something. Um, and then I was going to a studio that I heard this guy. He does Wisdom of the Sages. I'm sure some of the people have heard of him. Radhanath. He was doing a handstand workshop, And I was like, oh, I want to do I'm almost there with my handstands. I want to get there. I want to cross my legs and twirl them around and do all kinds of crazy things in handstand. And that was literally what everybody wanted to do. Like that was your goal. I'm going to go to yoga. I'm going to learn handstands and I'm going to do eagle legs and handstands. And then only then will I feel good enough to be a yoga teacher. You know, like the craziest, silliest things. I don't know. Like I look back on things that I used to think were important. If you want to say something, let me know, but I can go on. Um, anyway, so I went to this workshop. It was billed as a kind of a workshop, and then he was going to talk about leelas, which I was like, "What's a leela?" And they're like, "Just stories." It just means stories. I'm like, "Okay." And then some kirtan. I was like, "Okay." Kirtan was something that I was used to. I wasn't used to it at that level, at like a 20-minute kirtan, but I had understood kirtan. So I went, and I think this is like the secret weapon. We went in, and everyone's trying to do handstand, and he gets you up and do a handstand, and you're doing all these things. And like, I don't know, an hour into it, you're like, I can't do another handstand. I need to sit down. I need a snack. I can't move. So it's like almost like you're ripe for the picking in a sense that you're exhausted. So you're just like, okay, I'm just going to sit here. And he starts telling these Leelas. And the story he told, which I'll never forget, and I may I may have emotions. I'm just putting that out there. Um, so he told the story about Yudhisthira and Duryodhana and the gambling match, and that Yudhisthira was this pious king. And I know now I know a whole lot more than I did then, but he just said he was a pious king, and his cousins, Duryodhana, they were also the Kauravas and the Pandavas. They were both pious. They weren't both pious, but they were both kings, and they were cousins. And the Kauravas were like trying to kill their cousins because they wanted everything, right? Because we're living in Maya. And I was like, okay, what is this going to be talking about? What is Maya? I don't know what he's talking. I don't know who the Kauravas are, the Pandavas. I didn't really know, but I was like, all right, I'm willing to listen. I'm open. And he started talking about Yudhisthira and how he was, and I thought, well, if he gambles, how pious can he be? And they were saying like it was kind of like almost like a Gamblers Anonymous type of thing is what he kind of said. Like he really like had not gambled in such a long time, but it was like his one kind of Achilles heel, one thing that could maybe get to him. And Duryodhana knew that. And so he had him come he summoned him, which apparently you can't say no to that, and said he wanted to have a gambling match. And I thought, wow, like, so now I'm like starting to get into it because I'm like, that's his cousin and he knows that he has a gambling problem, but he's inviting him over to gamble. That's not nice. That's like, it's more than not nice, right? And he's going on and throughout the story, and there's more to the story. It's in the Mahabharata. You should definitely read it. Um, he talks about how he's just giving everything away. He gives away his brothers, he gives away his armies, he gives away all of his money, he gives away his food, and then on and on and on until he gives away his very own wife, his wife Draupadi, who's also the wife of, I think, all his brothers, if I recall that. And she is in like this goddess room. So she's like a goddess. She's beautiful and she's like a queen and she's in there and she's just waiting. And they come and they drag her out, like, forget that she's a goddess and maybe not a commoner, but the fact that they would deal with a woman in that manner by dragging her through wherever they're going, through the palace into where they're gambling, which is apparently like a big football stadium type thing, right? she's wearing a sari, and she's down there, and then Duryodhana is giving all these commands. I want this, I want that, blah, blah, blah. And Yudhisthira can't do anything because he cameled her away. Like it's not, he's pious to a fault here where he says, I did this. And she couldn't believe the brothers, Bhishma, like all of the people that trained them, the elders, they're all looking at this going on where they're like pulling her around and pulling her by her hair, by her sari, talking to her in foul language. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, why is nobody doing anything? I just, because they're really, I don't get it. And then uh they're like, take her sari off. She shouldn't wear a sari. And I'm like, oh my God, she's gonna be like naked in the stadium. I'm like, what is gonna happen here? And she just says, Sri Krishna Govinda. And I don't know if that's how she says it, but then he goes, Hare Murare. And then he just starts playing the song. And I was like crying. I mean, I could cry right now. Like it's like I have the audio of the tape of the day. And I just started crying. And I just felt like there was like a prick. Something happened. Something happened that day. You can't you can't um, you can't convince me otherwise. Krishna tapped me on the shoulder that day and said, hey, come this way. And I think, like in my head, I was just thinking, like, you were just saying, like, how empty I felt. Like I was traveling and doing all of these wonderful things. People were like, wow, that's great. Oh my God, you're making this much money. You're doing this. You're buying this car and that car. But none of that made me happy. Like, not one of those things made me happy. And so as I'm crying at the end of the song, and then the teacher comes up to me and said, are you okay? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I had no idea really at that moment what had happened. I had an idea. I did feel kind of like I asked, like very generically, like, what? Like, I have all of these things and I still just don't get it. I don't get it. Like, I make this much money. I have this car, I have this house, I have this, and none of it, like the whole, which is now I call it my God-shaped hole, right? And I can put all the things in it, but until I connect to a being greater than myself, which for me became Krishna, not too long after that, because I had heard about Krishna before. And then I just started, you know, I kind of pulled back and I stopped, and people were like, "Oh, you're not coming about, you're not coming here, you're not going." I'm like, I'm going to take a break, taking a little break, and I went to India on my break for about 2 months, barefoot everywhere, like I don't know, skirt and a scarf and t-shirt, no fancy shoes. I didn't have no Gucci bag, right? No BMW driving around. I was on the back of some guy's motor scooter in a tuk-tuk thing, bouncing around, right? Dirt everywhere, cows. I was like looking at something. I'm like, oh, it's a cow, right? Happier than I'd ever been.
Wow. Might want to interrupt you here. Was a nice story of how you came in contact with the process of bhakti through very wonderful wisdom literatures and especially the very moral stories with morals and ideals. That was quite interesting. And you were really touched with the merciful. That's where when Krishna was showing mercy to Draupadi, you kind of felt that touch. This is the episode for those friends who are not following this. This is from Mahabharata, the longest poem containing 1 lakh verses. It's the longest poem, and she just took an extract from this Mahabharata where there is a game of dice. That's a small chapter that comes with that. Thank you so much for sharing how you came in contact. I was just asking you how you came in touch, but then you gave me the whole story that was really nice and insightful. Thank you. What is something that a limb of bhakti? Now you definitely came in contact with bhakti, right? What is, if you could shortly tell us, what is that particular process of bhakti that really motivates you, inspires you to do this program? Yeah.
Um, I don't, I mean, I have to start with service because when I'm doing service, when I'm giving, like I'm actually sitting here writing my Guru Maharaj has given me service and I was crying because I thought, oh my God, like I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, because it's these old tapes, right? That play in your mind. And that's the Maya, right? Maya wants you to think that you can't get this, you can't get that, you won't be happy, this will make you happy. And when I say Maya, Maya is like the material world, right? I don't know if there's a better meaning for that you know of.
Well, Maya can be the counter forces, right? The counter force. We can call it that way. Yeah.
So that would be what I would call it, I guess. And so it's been, I mean, like it's been over 15 years now. And I didn't just like jump in, but I've been to India 9 times. And I've but I I think that offering myself for service gets me out of my own way and
All right.
gives
So
me.
at this point of time, I really want to know specifically what service can mean. It's very generic. You did mention some kind of service to your spiritual master. Yes. You
Yes.
serve God, man. You actually serve God through that process. Yeah. Many paths do believe this, but I specifically wanted to know service as in what does service mean to you? Yeah. You can say something. Can you please elaborate that aspect?
Sure. So like for example, I mean, can I tell you the service I'm doing now?
Yeah.
Or do
What is something that keeps you going? That's what I want. Service is something in we got,
okay.
but any
So it's
particular service? Yeah.
when I'm helping other people get out, a lot of times it's helping people get out of their own way. It's
Oh,
people like people that are like me that are running around doing this, doing that, and I could see that they're not happy, or I know them and I talk to them, they're like I feel like I'm going to be doing this till I die or whatever. They say something that I know, and I'm like, there's a better way. Like you don't have to keep going on that. It's like a hamster wheel. You don't have to do that. And for me, what I loved about this, what I loved about Bhakti was that it wasn't a religion. It wasn't a like I'm not, you're this, you're that. There wasn't a label. I practice Bhakti. I practice, devotional service to I mean, just as of recently, there's things that have come to my life. But, in the beginning it was just doing service to helping out at the studio, mopping the studio, you know, cleaning the toilets, things that I would think I'm never going to do that. I don't need to clean toilets. Like it's beyond me. But like there's something about doing something that you think like if you get out of your own way, your own ego, that for me, I'm gonna say you, for me, my ego like had me thinking, where's how come my luggage isn't up here already? You know, like just like thinking in a different whole, my whole way of behaving, of acting, of thinking has changed. And so serving others in and I can't say specifically because each of them is in a different way. Some people I offer them a Bhagavad Gita. Some people I'll sit with them, I'll bring them to the temple and I'll say, you know, these are the deities. You want to walk through, let me, I can show you. Tell them about it. Some people I tell them, listen to the Mahabharata, and I listened to it. I had it on audio in my car for about 5 years. Every time I'd get in the car, my son would be like, "What's Yudhisthira doing now?" So, like, you know, like it was on my in my car. But I started doing things that actually made a difference, right? Like, so my yoga that I was teaching was making people physically strong, strong man, doing handstands. But the yoga that I teach now is like I taught last night, and people were just they're quiet. They were like you could see them. I was teaching them meditation and breath work, and we still worked. We still did yoga, but I've added. You know, I brought my cartels to the. I teach yoga in the park. I brought my cartels. I was singing Jaya Radha Madhava, and they were like, "What is she doing?" But you know what? Like one day somebody's gonna get that same feeling. And I believe that some people have already.
Yeah.
So,
Nice. So basically, the service that like keeps you driven, self-driven, is something when you ignite others' spiritual journey. If
yes.
that's how I put it. Like you facilitate another's journey, that is something that gives you that drive within, that gives you that juice to go on ahead. Wow, nice. Can you share some experience of somebody really getting touched with the kind of help that you tried to facilitate their spiritual journey?
Well, I had a girlfriend of mine. She was a yoga teacher. She kind of was similar to me. We would like cross path and she'd be like, "Oh, let me know if you're here. Let me know if you're there." And I was in, I think we were in Indonesia. And I said to her, and I had said to her, Are you going to be in Indonesia this year?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "When?" And we were going to actually cross over by like a week. And so I said, "I want to grab dinner with you." And this is after I had the little tap on the shoulder, the little incident that changed my life for the better. But and and so I talked to her about it, and 'cause I got to a point where I didn't really, I guess I thought this is who I'm transforming. And that's a beautiful thing. And if somebody can't see that, that's, you know, that's not on me, you know, and I got to a point where I don't care anymore. Like I didn't care what other people were thinking about what I was doing and what I was saying and all those kinds of things. So I said to her, I said, "Are you happy doing this? Because you and I are kind of on a similar path, but we kind of cross and kind of do this." It's like, "Do you like feel like satisfied?" She's like, "I'm exhausted. That's what I feel. I feel exhausted all the time." I said, "But are you happy? Like, you're exhausted, but you're happy?" Because she was married. And she said, "No." She's like, "This doesn't make me happy." I said, "Then why do you keep doing it?" She's like, "Well, you know, it's prestigious, you know, I make good money, it's this and that." I said, "But if it doesn't make you happy, right? Like, like no amount of money for me is going to make me happy unless I am happy. Like you, if I had a lot of money and I was already happy, I already know things I could do with. I could make a foundation for cows. I could. There's all things that I already have in my head that I want to do. And and she, I said, "Would you be willing? Would you be open to coming to just, you know, like a night, a kirtan night with me in the city, Bhakti Center? Just, you know, we can grab, you know, a meal or something, whatever." So we went, And Kirtan was going, she was up dancing and crossing her feet. And we walked out of there. And I looked at her, I was like, and I just was staring at her face. And she's like, what? I go, I don't think I've ever seen you like that. And she's like, that was so great. And since then, her whole life has changed. I mean, I could go on and on about how her life changed, but you know, if I can give what I have, my life change to one person, I've done something. I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to ask you, but like you're a brahmachari, right? So you've given a lot, right? I mean, if we're to put the foot on the foot on the shoe on the other foot, so like what, like why? What made you do that?
Right. Thank you. Now I guess we're switching roles. Nice. It came out naturally. All right. I just wish to acknowledge it was so amazing. There was this friend of yours, and she wasn't happy. You could figure out because often Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of our movement, he would say the face is the index of the mind. Just by looking at someone's face, you can tell this person's happy, this person's not happy. You could figure that out. And you ask this person, you're not happy. But then just a small invite. You just come to this Kirtan night, and that made a total orbit shift in the consciousness, in the state of mind. And we could see that, wow, this person was in bliss, and you never seen the person like that. And that seeing the other person in bliss made you feel a sense of fulfillment and achievement that I could facilitate this sincere journey. That was something I wanted to acknowledge before I talk
Yes,
about
I
I put
appreciate
my
that. And that
yeah.
was, I mean, look, I think before I let you go on, I just want to say, like, if I didn't see that, because I know her, if I didn't see that kind of face, that energy in her, I don't know if I would have asked her. Maybe I would have, but it doesn't matter because now she's happy. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. On.
All right. So your question again to just reiterate it, it was what exactly made me, switch. All right. So from the very beginning of my life, I grew up in India, and I was religious, God fearing, a believer of God, and well, I would say just like any normal Indian person would be brought up. Yes, we are brought up in a very God fearing and religious kind of environment. But then, to be very honest, I was looking uh, for books to study because I never really had a reading habit, and that was very badly affecting my grades. Right, and the first book that I just glanced upon after my prayers to the God, please, God Almighty, give me one book that I can read cover to cover, and that happened to be the Bhagavad Gita as it is. This is a portion of Mahabharata, but this is actually the very essence of this literature of Mahabharata that touched your heart, right? You were touched by Mahabharata, so was I. So this is the sermons that Lord Krishna gives to Arjuna on a battlefield, right? And it teaches us essential principles of a meaningful life. And I read it cover to cover overnight. And that was a very, very intriguing, it was a very amazing experience. I was deeply intrigued, deeply touched, deeply moved. Um, and I started to see world from a very totally different perspective, right? And that is the time I decided I really want to systematically get this knowledge, right? I was looking for that.
Well, and I
And
think
yeah.
similarly, I think
Uh-huh.
similarly, like you knew you were looking for that. I
Yeah.
didn't know, but I was.
No, I didn't know either. I was looking for that.
Oh,
I
okay.
stumbled upon this book because I wanted to get develop the habit of reading.
Okay.
And I could see this book is big, bulky. But then I felt that this is the right book to read. And not only that, I had many inspiring teacher figures in my life, right? I'm going to keep it a little short. And I really wanted to be a teacher, but I never really knew what am I going to teach, right? I want to be a teacher, but teacher of what? So, well, when I came across this wonderful philosophy, And in course of time, the Almighty Lord arranged for like-minded peer association, wherein I could practice the principles taught in the Gita in my daily life. I was somehow put into that association, and that's where it just struck to my mind that I can be a teacher of this particular path, right? The Bhakti Yoga, because Bhagavad Gita is a book about the Bhakti Yoga. And now everyone's talking about Bhakti, this Bhakti movement. Well, I just kind of analyzed, if I were to teach this particular, I wish to adopt this as my occupation, right? As a teacher, not for money, but for deep satisfaction, for self-actualization, right? Then I would need to give solid 8 hours. All right. 8 hours are taken by the body. So we have to give 8 hours for the body, no matter who you are. 8 hours for the body, 8 hours for our, teaching this path. And that would, if I were to be a teacher of this particular path, that would require me to be an intense practitioner for 8 hours at least, right? So that way you take 8 hours for the body, you take 8 hours for the practice, you take 8 hours for teaching. Yes, that's what I want to do. And is there a way to do it? Well, I found a way. So thus I embraced the monkhood, where I could have 8 hours for my body, 8 hours for my spirit, and 8 hours for my service to reach out, because that is something that gives me fulfillment as well. In fact, service is something that gives fulfillment to anyone. And the best service that we can do to anybody, as per the verdict of the wisdom literatures, is to connect everyone to the Supreme Almighty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean, as you know, I mean, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So, I mean, so now you're not a teacher, you're a preacher, right? Kind of. But you
Mm-hmm.
found your way. But similarly, I couldn't have brought my friend if I wasn't like, if I cried that day and then I didn't do anything, right? I couldn't have brought her. And since then, I've, brought, I can't say everyone that I've, brought, but I've introduced a lot of people. And then on top of that, I have my own association. Like you said, you have association with people, like-minded people, because, the Gita, the four principles, and that's good going into a whole other story. But, you know, at the end of the day, the things that you think were going to make you happy aren't making you happy. You have to look elsewhere, or you just dry up.
Yeah, very true. So, as such, even spirituality is compared to feeding a bird in the cage,
Yeah.
right? If you look at the modern materialistic society, we very beautifully polish the cage. We wipe the cage. We clean the cage. We paint the cage. We take care of the cage, which is the outward body. This is the outward cage. But what about the spirit soul like bird who is within the cage, who is encaged within? That's neglected completely. And spirituality is about feeding that bird within the cage. Yes. So we want to prevent ourselves from drying up. Yeah, that's what we're supposed to do. Yeah.
Well, and that's what I said, like my God-shaped hole, like my soul, and what I found out was that I was a true spirit soul, but I forgot. I forgot, like in Maya, and Maya also, I was told, needs illusion, or no? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so,
Maya literally means, it's a Sanskrit terminology, which
okay,
means that which is not.
okay.
So
So there you
when do
go.
you believe something is not, when it is not there? That's called as a state of illusion. Yeah.
Right.
Illusion.
So I was
Correct.
in a state of illusion that if I got this, I got that, I got this. And then, similar to you, I wasn't a big reader, but I started listening to audiobooks, which was an easier way for me to learn. And I just, now I share my life openly with everybody that I can, so that, you know, I give them an opportunity, hopefully, to, if they're, I think people that even think they're happy, when they see the ecstaticness of a kirtan, they're like, what's going, like, when they do that, I know that they're not happy, because they see, when they're when someone is happy and dancing and kicking their feet and their hands are in the air and kirtan is going and they're singing and someone looks at them with like a funny face, they're going, okay, I want to do that, but I don't want people to see me doing that. That's what I
I
think.
just wanted to share something. Once there was a reporter who asked the founder of our movement, right, the
Yeah.
founding Acharya, the founding spiritual master of our movement, if you guys practice your dance moves, or what do you guys eat for getting that kind of an energy to put up such a wonderful show of dancing?
Yeah.
And you know what Prabhupada said?
Right.
Our founder Acharya, the founder spiritual master, the founding spiritual master, he said that when you chant, yes, when you chant, dancing is natural. Yes, you
I
chant,
find it.
or even you hear the holy name. Chanting is something which is a natural experience of the soul. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's sort of like sometimes I'll find myself like just kind of moving, my eyes are closed, and just I'm singing it in my head. It's I mean, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but if you can open your heart and open your mind and don't just say, no, no, this is the way it is, this is the way don't do that. Give yourself the opportunity to just to learn a little bit more and then see, and that's what I did. I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a year. That's actually what I said. I'm going to do this for a year and see what happens. And then I don't know what happened, but like 5 years later, I just kept going. Like I didn't stop for the year. It just things were getting better here in my
Wow.
soul.
Wow.
I started to feel like
And
his
if I may interrupt you and ask, how long have you been associated with this path of Bhakti Yoga?
um
I know it feels forever, but
does,
still.
it does. Well, no, it's been over 15 years. Yeah.
Wow. 15 years
Yeah.
and counting. Wow,
I
that's so amazing.
counted. Yeah. Yeah. So, and
Um,
now I'm starting to, find more association as I go. And, and people that know me are seeing me going like, what Canada's making you really happy because I'm from New York. And I'm like, well, not such, it's not just really Canada. And I'll tell them. And they're like, really? What? I don't understand. And I try and explain to them. And some people who are open will try it. And some people stay and their whole life changes. And it's a beautiful thing. Like I get to see it. I get to watch it. Like I'm looking at a friend of mine that I know that was not happy, that is now currently so happy.
wow. I just want to appreciate this fact because you've been repeatedly talking about New York. New York is believed to be the heart of Maya illusion. A
And it is.
person, it's a hell of a lot of new world. I can say it's altogether a different world. Yeah. And people usually get lost in illusion, but then you found your principles, you found this path of bhakti, you found your Krishna in this network of illusion. That's something really commendable. That's
Yeah.
nice. So at this particular point of time, I just wanted to ask you this question of how exactly, because you got connected to this particular path, you've been consistently doing this for about like 15 years and still counting. Yeah,
And
it feels forever. Yeah, it feels the same thing. Uh, like, how did you tackle the illusion, the Maya, the counter forces? How exactly did you tackle that and how did you overcome it? I just wanted to know.
yeah, no, that's a great question because that was, I think, probably my hardest thing to tackle, right? Because I mean, at least for me, I was told, when you're growing up, you're told, you marry a rich guy, you do this, you do that, or you do this career or whatever. And I was like, I'm going to be a yoga teacher. And I ended up, traveling the world doing it. And it was amazing. But I was hollow. I was hollow. And so when it took a while and I started to, and I was like, it's almost like anything new you try. You're like, oh, I want to try knitting. And you're like, go to a knitting class. You're like, oh, I don't find that knitting class. So I started going to different like temples and in New York. I mean, you're lucky in New York because you have a lot of places that have bhakti. So when I moved here, about 10 years ago, I'm like 2 hours from the temple here. So they have like a small place here, but they do have the good thing that came out of COVID is there's a lot of Zoom like we are
Or
now. So
just to
there's,
let the viewers know, Stacey is from Toronto. She stays
oh
in
yeah,
the greater Toronto area. If the
yeah,
viewers don't know it, I'm just
that's
mentioning.
just that
Yeah.
that's where I live now. And but with that, I mean, with that being said, I still get to the temple. And some days I I'll go for the whole day and I'll go down to the kitchen. I'm like, well, what are we cutting today? And I'm like in this great mood. It's like 8 a.m. What are we cutting today? And I'm like, and I like people say like this is the joke, is that I get up and they're like, you have to chant 16 rounds. So I don't know if anyone knows. It's like the beads of like what is it, Saint Mary, 108 beads, and they're like you have to chant 16 rounds. I'm like, yeah. They're like, how do you do that in the daytime? Like you get up at like 10 o'clock, right? And then I don't get up at 10 o'clock. They're like, what time do you get up? I'm like, I don't know, 4:30, quarter to five. They're like, on purpose? I'm like, yeah. But like, again, never been happier. Like I do it, chanting. Then I get on like a Bhagavatam call. Then I'm chanting, and then I know you have something. I'll get on that, and I, you know, I just want to keep learning about Krishna and about I'm trying to learn Sanskrit. I want to learn shlokas. I'm taking a Bhakti Shastri course, which is a course on all of these four books that are, I think that the main books that Prabhupada,
It's kind of a foundation to it's before a graduation, you have a foundation, right? That's a
right.
foundational course of Bhakti Yoga. Yeah.
I did
Like the high
take,
school. We can
yeah,
say, we
kind
can
of
call it
like,
the high school. Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
like an exam. So I'm taking that. I mean, I've taken it before, but I'm taking it again because it's been a while. And I want to learn. I want to learn the shlokas, and I do still find myself like, if I'm like, oh, I read some, like if I'm reading with girls and I read a Sanskrit verse and I'm like, Uvaka cha kante, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, you did that one right. So, uh-oh, stop. Ego coming. Like I have to do that. And then what happens is I feel like Krishna is like right here and he goes, nope. All right, sending you back to the ego farm because that is a hard one. It's like you're taught to want to be proud of what you're doing. But oftentimes I find my pride is right married next to my ego. And when my ego gets big, then I get really, really, really low. It's not does not work with bhakti. Big ego and bhakti do not work together. So I mean that would be my biggest, I think, Maya buster. And I think the way that I do that is by staying with like spending time with devotees. I think one of the things they say, and I won't be ego about it, but one of the things they say is Krishna loves if you conserve the devotees because he loves his devotees. And so I try and do that not because I feel like Krishna is going to come to my house for dinner and buy me a new BMW. I just think if I do that, he might show me mercy. I'm trying, I pray in the morning and I pray for to be humble and to have humility and to be of service. Those are three things that I pray for. That's it. Not for money, not for whatever. And so, like the Stacey you're seeing today is like if you would have met me 20 years ago, you'd be like, wow, you really would. You would, and I see it. I see it. Like I actually see a good person. When I look in the mirror and I'm just putting my little clip in, I'm like, okay, like I feel good about what I'm doing. I feel good about the road that I'm on. I feel good that I'm following Prabhupada's path. I believe he had the right path. I don't feel like God should be God-fearing demon God. I think it should be a path, to reconnect to your soul. right? And to quiet the mind, because that's where Maya lives. Maya lives in here, telling you all these things, right? Or at least me.
Right. Thank
Yeah.
you. At this particular point of time, just before wrapping up, we just wanted to check if there are any questions from the audience. If
Yeah.
anybody else would like to ask a question to either me or Stacey, we'll be very happy. You guys can put it on the chat, and we'll
Yeah.
be very happy to
Did
answer
everybody
them for you.
fall asleep?
No, no, they're there. They're very much active.
Okay, good.
All
Ah,
right. There is one question in the, yeah, it's come as a direct message to me. The
ah,
question, I'll just kind of, it's a big one, so I'll just paraphrase it for you.
okay.
The question is, how do I put it? Okay, all right. I'll just tell the question, right? So now, is this part of bhakti? What is being asked? Because this topic is about the West. They're just getting us back to the topic which we are discussing. Do you feel that you've embraced a path of the East or something like that? You are a Westerner, you've embraced an Eastern path, something of that sort. That's one of the
Yeah,
questions about.
I do. And I'll say what I don't think this is the path of mine now is the Eastern path. The Western path is money and ego and I mean it's like I mean just look who's in the White House, right? If you look at Trump, that is the Western path, really. The Eastern path is really I find, and because I've been not only to India, but like I said, Indonesia, um, Thailand. So I've been to the East, and those cultures are much more. They're it's like an energy. It's just an energy that's just like, all right. Yeah. I feel like it's so, and I guess the thing that bothers me the most about that is that sometimes Western people can't get out of their own way. They can't see that because it's not coming from New York or it's not coming from Cat, it's coming from a different area, but this could be really this could change your life. Who cares where it comes from? Right? I mean, who cares, but like it's coming from a good place, right? So I think I hope like that's actually something that I'm it's funny that you're asking, but something that I'm working with my guru on and some other friends of people that are on the same path as me is I really want to see if I can get more Western people just to see it, even if they just see it, right? And that because I feel like they don't even have the opportunity to see it so much, right? And then
I guess
they
this
can.
was the question, next question that came up in the chat. What is your message to the Western audience? Yeah, you can answer that one as well. Yeah. So,
But if there's Western people out there and you're thinking, oh, he's wearing an orange robe, oh, you have to wear a dress like this, like don't think about any of that. That's all the Maya. It's giving you all the reasons why you should stay where you're at. Just open your heart, open your soul, and you'll see that thing your life can change. And not because you buy a new car, a new house, a new this or a new that. You can change from the inside out. And that's bhakti to me. So that's what I would
wow.
say.
Wow. So, yes, even my spiritual master often tells me, he tells in his all sermons that bhakti is about transformation. Transformation from greed to abundance, from cruelty to compassion, from
Mm,
lust to love, from hatred to love. Yeah, he goes on that way. Yeah, the transformation, the inner transformation, that's bhakti. And even if you would ask me, well, bhakti is not just an Eastern tradition, it's something universal. It's the most natural state that you can ever get, the soul can ever get to. That is bhakti, being natural at, and living on the platform of the soul, being loving towards all living entities because we are all part and parcels of God. That's bhakti. Well,
you're right.
yeah. Are you saying something? Any closing remarks? Go ahead.
No, it. I'm just going to say you're right. You're right. I mean, so I look at it that way because I'm a Westerner, right? And that's the problem.
Yeah, that's a problem because being a Westerner is a problem. You look at it as a
Problem
Westerner.
to look at it that way, that it's an
Yeah,
East
exactly.
versus
Yeah,
Western, when
it's
really it's not.
universal. Something
It's
that's
universal.
natural. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, very true. But then, well said. I really appreciated your response. And thank you, folks, for your wonderful questions that you gave it to me in the chat. At this particular point of time, I'd like to take all of your leave. And Stacey, thank you so much for joining us from Toronto and spending wonderful time giving your wisdom, those wonderful wisdom bites that we had with you. So signing off, Sanatan Dharmadas, your dear friend. Thank you so much, all the viewers, and thank you all of those guys who are watching us on the YouTube. And
Thank you so
looking
much.
forward to meeting you once again. Thank you so
Yes.
much. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Lefton.